Thanks for watching Afternoon Live. They are often confused with the great white shark and are sometimes found stranded on an Oregon beach. Here to share more about salmon sharks and why this happens, we welcome back postdoctoral researcher from OSU's Big Fish Lab, Dr. Alexandra McInturf. Great to see you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And your very cool shark sweater. I love it.
Thank you. I thought it was appropriate for the holiday season.
Fashion first.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about salmon sharks.
Yes.
And people think that they're great whites.
Yes.
And we have them here.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Okay.
Where
do we begin?
I know. I was like, there's a lot of things to touch on
Yes.
there. They're one of the species that I study personally, actually, and they're
Cool.
definitely a topic of interest in our lab. I refer to them as fun-sized white sharks.
Okay.
Because they're about 6 to 9 feet long. They're much smaller than, a 15 to 20 foot white shark. But we often get people telling us when these sharks wash up on the beach, primarily during the summer months, oh, there's baby white sharks on the beach.
Yes.
Typically, that's how we know it's a salmon shark, because they're so much smaller.
That's a big tip right away. So how often does this happen? Because we had a couple recently, right?
We have, yes.
Okay.
And actually, I think it happens more than even we know, because we're a pretty new organization. So we are just starting to get the reports.
Okay.
But the number one thing we want people to do if you find a salmon shark on the beach, which could be any time, primarily I think from June to August, maybe even a little after, is to let us know at the Big Fish Lab, because often they're dead, unfortunately, and we're able to get a lot of scientific information from the bodies of those dead animals.
That's super valuable. So that time window, what is it about that time? Are they migrating? What's happening?
It's a great question, and it's something that we're still trying to solve.
Okay.
So salmon sharks are part of a small subset of sharks that are called regionally endothermic, which just means they're partially warm-blooded.
Interesting.
So most fish are cold-blooded, like reptiles, but salmon sharks can kind of keep their body temperature a little bit warmer than the rest of the water, which allows them to occupy these colder environments. But we do think a lot of the salmon sharks we're seeing are babies, and so they might not be able to deal with the cold shock of entering Oregon waters.
Interesting.
And there's also some speculation that there might be some sort of disease that might be running rampant in some salmon sharks, but that remains to be seen, I think, for the species we're seeing in Oregon.
Why are they called salmon sharks?
Why are they called salmon sharks is exactly what I'm studying. So historically, they were seen at the mouths of rivers eating salmon during the annual salmon runs, primarily up in Alaska. And it has been estimated that they can take 12 to 25% of the annual Pacific salmon run.
Whoa.
However, I am finding that they're not exclusively eating salmon, at least not in Oregon. And in places like Russia, where they're also found, they're known as a herring shark. So scientists are clearly very creative with their names.
Interesting.
But salmon shark might be a little bit of a misnomer.
So what do we do? You kind of mentioned this earlier. What do we do if we're on the beach and we spot a shark? What's your first move?
Okay, if you spot a shark, be very careful.
Right.
We don't advocate people going out and wrestling sharks on the beach.
Right.
If it is very clearly dead, we ask that you give us a call, and you can find our number on our website. And ideally, especially if the tide is coming in and you're comfortable, drag that shark a little bit further up the beach so the water doesn't take it out, so we don't go on a wild goose chase trying to find the shark that's not there, and then we will come and retrieve it.
Okay, that's so interesting. What's your favorite part about researching these sharks in particular? I mean, it must be endless, the information that you can find out, because there is so much unknown still about a lot of marine life.
Yes, totally. I think sharks are just incredibly fascinating animals, right? We think of them as these big, scary creatures, but then you have fun-sized white sharks washing up on the beach, right? And I didn't even know that before I moved to Oregon. So my favorite thing is learning something new about animals every day. That's what I've wanted to do since I was a kid, and it's cool that I get to do it as a job now.
And you're from the Midwest.
Yes.
And you come out here and you study sharks.
Yes.
I mean, did you ever imagine that was going to be where your life brought you?
It's where I hoped my life would bring me, and it's cool to live out my childhood dream for sure.
That's so cool. Are there other marine animals that you love researching or that you're involved with right now?
I do dabble in salmon, so it is a little bit appropriate that I study the salmon shark, but primarily I am focused on sharks in general.
That is so cool. I was thinking too the name salmon shark because salmon really have to fight for survival, those little babies and the eggs, so maybe there's some connection there with the name, but I guess they just eat the salmon.
Yes, sometimes, only sometimes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by.
Sure, thank you.
Happy pre-Thanksgiving.
Yeah, likewise.
We'll have more information about Alex and the Big Fish Lab on our website at KATU.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.